once again in Game 7. James pulls up, puts it in. The 2013 NBA championship resides once again in Miami.
I can't worry about what everybody say about me. I'm LeBron James from Akron, Ohio, from the inner city. I'm not even supposed to be here. That's enough.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. LeBron James with the rejection. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
Cleveland! This is for you!
LeBron James warming up for what could be his 4th NBA championship, the first for the LA Lakers since 2010. Now, I have to smile, Zeke, as we watch those clips of him winning championship after championship after championship, because I remember so well sitting next to you on that small sofa in the dressing room we had at Oracle Arena, and you were the only one in the room who said ahead of time, LeBron and the Cavs are still going to win this. And sure enough, as we watched the clock tick down, you looked over at me and you said, he did it.
You know, it was one of the greatest basketball feats I had ever seen. You know, being down 3-1 to a 73-9 Golden State Warriors team that was, you know, just lighting the league up. And when you're down 3-1 in the finals, you normally don't come back from that. And watching him elevate his game every single time out. And, you know, he and Kyrie, they were playing such good basketball together. And I'll never forget sitting with you, you know, Letlow, and just watching that moment unfold. It was it's one of those basketball moments I think you and I were sharing. We'll just never forget.
Eating
you know,
an exorbitant amount of popcorn, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now, Kevin, you know what it takes to prepare for a championship. You also know what it takes to prepare as a coach for a player like LeBron James. What are the Miami Heat thinking ahead of this game as they see the same statistics that we're seeing about how good he is in these closeout scenarios?
Yeah, you know, it's so tough. 'Cause I just think if you're playing against LeBron James, especially when he starts getting into the mode he was in, like in Game 4 in the second half, you got to run bodies at him. You got to make somebody else beat you. He's at the top of the key, and he's just coming downhill on you. And at the end of the day, he's coming downhill and finding guys anyways because he's right at the basket. He sucks you in. You might as well be proactive and run out there and get him. He's an impossible guard. Like I said, in that Game 4 when he made those 2 long threes, I went, oh, boy. And then he just went off. But I just think you got to run at him early, get the ball out of his hands when he's at the top of the key, making plays for others. And let me tell you something, he's going to make you pay. But at least if you go down and saying, hey, Markieff Morris made shots, Caldwell Pope made shots, you know, all these guys, Green, all these guys made shots. But I know one thing, he can beat you. I've seen too much of him. And at some point, you have to see somebody else beat you.
Grant, the same question to you, but on the reverse, which is that of the preparation level to be LeBron James. The way that he approaches these closeout scenarios has to be different, not just physically, but mentally as well, right?
No question, Kristen. And I think that's the benefit he has, so many of them throughout his career, and so many, obviously, in an NBA final. So the mental, the emotional, the physical preparation necessary to go out and to dominate. There's no one in the game right now who has, you know, you can maybe talk about some of the guys, obviously, at Golden State, and they had great success. But, you know, LeBron James, the burden and the responsibility that man has and has had in NBA finals, both winning and losing, but being on that stage and being really the focal point and having all that responsibility on your shoulders and having delivered in the postseason for years in these kind of closeout games. You know, there's no one who's really in the league who has that kind of responsibility and understanding. So I'm the least worried about LeBron James. LeBron James is going to be fine. He's going to be prepared. He's going to read the game. It'll be interesting to see sort of what's his focus from the start. Does he get people involved? Does he come out aggressive? But he's the best at sort of going out and just sort of reading his teammates, reading what his opponents are doing, and just figuring out what he needs to do to be successful, what he needs to do to win. The basketball talent, the basketball intellect, all of that combined. So I'm not the least bit worried about LeBron James. LeBron will come out and put up a stellar performance and give his team a chance to be crowned a champion once again.
I do have to point out, Grant, season after season, you and I travel to, the NBA city after NBA city to the finals to film inside stuff. And the one year that it's in Los Angeles and Miami, none of us are traveling, right? It's a bummer.
That is true. And also, Kristen, I was in the room too at Oracle, and you outed me by saying that Isaiah was the only one that believed. Because I sure didn't believe.
No,
I'll tell you what.
You absolutely didn't, because we had everyone. I don't remember who had everyone. It may have been Isaiah that did it. Had everyone write down in advance, because it was like, you know what? I don't want anybody saying afterwards, "Oh, I knew the whole time LeBron was going to do it." He's like, "No, everybody, you write it down right now and sign your name next to it." And sure enough, you did not believe.
I didn't believe. Yes, I'm sorry, Isaiah. You were right.
I think I still have that piece of paper somewhere.
No, it was again. It was again. It's a historical moment that has never really that I haven't seen happen in the NBA in terms of witnessing it. Now I did watch on a little bit on television when the Celtics did it to the 76ers. But for the most part, being there and watching it in person and seeing LeBron overcome what he did against the Warriors, that was mind-blowing.
Coach, let me ask you about this aspect of LeBron's legacy, because as I'm looking at the numbers, he would become the second oldest player to perhaps win a Finals MVP, right behind Kareem, but he would do it the latest in his career, as Kareem was in his 16th season at that point, he in his 17th. Is it possible to quantify what perhaps 2 trophies tonight would mean for LeBron's legacy?
Yeah, I mean, just the way he's played in this series has been enough. I think he probably will win MVP. I mean, maybe AD if they win tonight. But LeBron, just been so great. Hey, I was there when Kareem, Isaiah and I were talking about this before the game. I was there when Kareem, in his 16th year in '85, got his MVP. He was doing fadeaway skyhooks. He took one skyhook from 20 feet. I think the coach said, "We got a lot of problems, man. This dude's shooting 20-foot skyhooks and ripping bottoms." I mean, it was an amazing performance by Kareem. And you're seeing the same thing now out of LeBron, even probably more responsibility. Kareem was in the post and he did his thing, but LeBron's got the ball. He's getting everybody involved. And just his ability at this age to do this is amazing. It puts him at a level where it's just so for his generation. I hate talking about generations because it's so hard, but for this generation, he's been the best player for so long. This is his 10th NBA Finals. He took Boobie Gibson to an NBA Final. He should get an MVP for that.
Yeah, yes, he did.
So, I mean, it's amazing the people that he has brought along with him and what he's done. I have so much admiration and I have so much just pride for the young man that just went out there and he's done this. He's 35 years old. It's all about winning. He's given us a show for so many years, and I hope we don't take it, because I tell you one thing. We will, in a few years, he's going to be done. I look at that dude is absolutely unbelievable. At some point, time's got to catch up to him. I mean, goodness gracious.
You would think,
he's
right?
going to be God. He's got it at some point.
He's the only one. He's the only one going toe to toe with Father Time somehow. Like, no, you know what? Not yet.
But we will miss what I'm not sure you're going to see that package again for a long, long time. 6'9", great intelligence, great skill. I mean, you talk, like Isaiah said earlier, he's kind of a combination in my mind of Larry and Magic, and 2 guys that I idolized and just think are great players.
One of the words, Zeke, that each of you continue to mention is responsibility. We talk about the championship that he won in 2016 and the weight of the expectations that led up to that moment. But what about the weight of the responsibility that he has taken on this season, knowing not only what the Lakers franchise, but what the basketball world has held with him at the forefront?
Yeah, when he decided to go to the Los Angeles Lakers, there's only one thing you can do in a Laker uniform to be accepted, and that's to win a championship. I don't care how many points you score or how many movies you make and all that. If you're going to be accepted in Los Angeles or in Boston, you have to win a championship. And the pressure that he took on going to that Laker organization and having Shaq, Kobe, Magic, Kareem, Jerry West, to be accepted in that club, you got to be able to bring some hardware to the table. And it wasn't guaranteed that he would bring hardware to the table. So taking on that responsibility and accepting that responsibility and then going out and doing it and having a chance to win it, there's no other player that I can think of that is coming to the NBA since leaving high school and has had 17 years of excellent play, but has 17 years of responsibility to win championships and to exceed at the highest level. And then, on the other hand, you got to take into account the responsibility that he's taken on off the court of being a champion. We're watching him warm up in the Vote T-shirt. He's inspiring generations, not only, from a basketball standpoint, but socially and politically. He's doing stuff that Muhammad Ali was doing. He's doing stuff that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was doing, Bill Russell was doing in Boston. LeBron James has taken this up while he's winning championships, playing for one of the most historical franchises ever in the NBA. When you talk about pressure, nobody's lived up to it and done it better over this period of time than LeBron James.
Wow. And Game 5 of the NBA Finals is now just minutes away as the Lakers hold a 3-1 lead over the Heat. Our pregame coverage continues. DC. As you may remember, the only team to rally from such a deficit in a final series was led by LeBron James back in 2016. But Jimmy Butler says our confidence isn't going anywhere. Stay with us on NBA TV for pre- and post-game coverage, including coach and player press conferences. Hey everybody, welcome back into our NBA TV studios. I'm Kristen Ledlow. This is Game Time live at the NBA Finals 2020, presented by YouTube TV. I'll be joined by our Hall of Famers in a moment. Kevin McHale, Grant Hill, Isaiah Thomas. But first, we've got to get down to the bubble as our Jared Greenberg is standing by with our NBA champion Steve Smith. Hey guys.
Well, Kristen, good to be with you tonight. There has been a different energy and vibe around the bubble over the last 24 hours. Not that anybody is rooting for anybody. They truly are not. But people have started to pack their bags. And you have to wonder how much the Miami Heat have sensed that, have witnessed that. Plans for departure are in play for people to leave tomorrow, as Kristen said, if the Lakers can burst that bubble. The Lakers themselves, as Kristen mentioned, going to wear those black Mamba jerseys, which they are undefeated wearing this season. And LeBron James has never lost in the NBA Finals when he has a chance to close out the opponent. What makes him so particularly good in these moments?
Well, I think, first of all, we know his remarkable talent. But I think, second of all, you look at year 17, physically how he's still dominating. But I think also right now is he just has that mindset and he keeps adding something. And he keeps picking his spot late in his career to just take over a basketball game. And what's so beautiful about his game is we've had a lot of dominant players, but when you have a player this versatile, being able to dominate at so many different facets of the game. You just looked the other day, in that Game 4, he had 20 points in that second half, and he decided to go downhill and just impose his will. And just looking at a guy at year 17, and I kept looking at his numbers, and I had to make sure that it was right. He's averaging close to 28 points, 11 rebounds, 8.5 assists, and 54% shooting, Jared, in the finals in year 17. It's remarkable.
But, believe it or not, he does not have finals MVP locked up just yet. The only man who likely could take that from him tonight would be Anthony Davis. You sat down with him, and coming up later on in the pregame show, we'll have that lengthy conversation that you had with Anthony Davis. Do you get the sense that he's ready for this moment, or, as some Laker fans may be nervous, that they see the Game 3 version of AD?
I think he's so good. And even like when I sat down with him, he said I had a subpar Game 3. But if you really go back and look at his numbers and his impact It just wasn't what the capability of Anthony Davis can have because the game is so easy. And like LeBron, he can dominate in so many areas. He talked about being able to ask for Jimmy Butler in Game 4. He wanted that defensive assignment, able to slide his feet, contest, and he's unbelievable on the defensive end. I just look at Anthony Davis, and my guy who I picked to be the MVP before this year, not in this series in the playoffs, but the entire regular season. If he can put his mindset to be, I'm the most dominant defensive player, I'm the most dominant offensive player, and I have skills back in Chicago when I played high school that I can play and distribute. Just have that mindset pretty much every trip down, because watching him up here, up close, Jared, in this bubble with no fans really here, you can see, we look up and we're watching, and I go and look up at the scoreboard, he has 20, 10, 6, and I don't feel like he showed us the best of Anthony Davis, which is scary.
Sure.
In year 7, I think he's in, that I still think he has a lot to improve.
Again, Smitty's conversation with Anthony Davis coming up a little later on in the pregame show. The one big adjustment that the Lakers made in Game 4 was putting Anthony Davis on Jimmy Butler, who seems to be reluctant to shoot the three-point ball. How does Jimmy Butler assert himself in a must-win game tonight?
I'm going to go back when I was growing up in Detroit, in the parks and everywhere. You're going to look at, as a big guy guarding you when I was small, find a way. And I think the one thing is, even though he doesn't shoot jump shots, he's going to have to find a way, and also within the team confine. And one thing I look at is, if you're a big guy, you don't want to chase. Even though Anthony Davis is a great one-on-one defender, help defender, and all those attributes, but run him off screens. Make sure he catches the basketball where Anthony Davis is in the move, because that isolation at the top standstill advantage Anthony Davis if you're not a three-point shooter. Second for me is he's going to have to be a great screener. If you set a great screen, then Anthony Davis is going to either have to show or switch. Now you have a chance to have the basketball go against a different opponent if you're Jimmy Butler. Last for me is get the rebound because you cross-match and push before Anthony Davis can come and try to set up and get and collect you at half court.
We'll see what adjustments the Miami Heat are going to make. In addition to your conversation with Anthony Davis, we have much more to do from up here in Orlando. I'll chat with both head coaches and keep you up to date on any late-breaking news prior to game number 5. And of course, Kristen, you'll want to come back after the game if the Lakers are able to clinch their 17th NBA championship. We'll be celebrating along with the players and talk with LeBron, AD, and the likes of many, many more here live in Orlando.
Well, I'll be back regardless, but I'm glad you told the audience to come back as well. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Smitty.
You have to. Yes.
I'll talk to you soon. All right, as promised, our Hall of Famers, Isaiah Thomas. Oops, there's no right way to point. It's like the Brady Bunch open. Isaiah Thomas, Kevin McHale's down there. Grant, all right, of course, he does it perfectly on his very first try. Welcome in, you guys. Coach, if you were down in the bubble, would you have packed your bags? Would you have booked a flight for tomorrow at this point?
Booked a flight. I'd have got a car so I could leave right after the game if I was down there for 4 months. I mean, holy smoke. Greeny's laughing. Greeny's got all his stuff packed right next to him. They're ready to go. Excuse me. But yeah, that's been a long stay down there. And it's hard, man. Every day it's the same thing over and over again. I give the players a lot of credit, and the coaches and everybody who's been down there. Kudos to them. I wouldn't want to do it.
Well, to Coach's point, let's take a look, guys, at what LeBron is capable of in a closeout performance. He's averaging more than 28 points in similar games, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists a game. But perhaps most impressive, he's 38-10 in closeout games, which is the best record for any player in NBA history. Now, Zeke, you once told me that if you needed to win one playoff game, you would choose Michael Jordan. But if you had to win a series, you would take LeBron James. Why is that?
Well, I just think LeBron beats you in so many different ways. When you're talking about a complete player over the course of time, as we just saw, he rebounds, he defends, he scores, he assists. He plays chess out on the floor, so he figures out how to beat you. And then when he figures out how to beat you, then he's going to beat you consistently every single time. He's by far one of the smartest players who's ever played the game. And, Kevin and I was just talking, about some of those Lakers-Celtics matchups. And, watching Bird and watching Magic have chess matches intellectually out on the floor is the thing that fascinated all of us so much. Now, there are people who play the game, and then there are people who intellectually think the game out on the floor in terms of playing chess. LeBron James does that throughout a series. And you can see from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 to game 4 and now to the closeout, he's figured out what Miami does, and he's figured out how to take advantage of it. Some people just can come out and say, I'm going to score 30 points, I'm going to score 40 points, I'm going to score 50 points. LeBron James will figure out a way to make AD look good, to make, Danny Green look good, to make this guy look good. I mean, he just beats you in so many different ways. And that's why, to me, I think we're watching one of the best to ever do it.
Grant, you've had the opportunity to compete against LeBron. You've had the opportunity to watch him close out as an analyst as well. What are your expectations for him in this closeout scenario?
Well, Kristen, my expectations for him are, he's going to continue with this great play. Obviously, the numbers don't lie, his production throughout the years, but, he's that one consistent player for the Lakers throughout this entire bubble, throughout the entire postseason. Sometimes I think you can get caught up in the moment, and I've obviously not played in a closeout game in an NBA Finals like Isaiah and Kevin McHale have. But you don't know who's going to show up for the Lakers. We've seen that this series. We've seen certain people play very well and then maybe come back and have a pedestrian game. LeBron, he will leave it all out there. He's trying to close this out right now. He wants to get this win. So I expect big numbers in every category: rebounding, assists, scoring, leading. The question then becomes who's going to step up and who from the Lakers is going to play big along with him. As great as he is, he needs KCP, he needs AD, he needs somebody, somebody to Markieff Morris. He needs his guys to play big and come along for the ride with him. And if that were to happen, then you know what? They'll be crowned champions for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about the Miami Heat, though, because, again, no Goran Dragic in this one as he continues to rehab a torn plantar fascia in his foot. So, Coach, what do you see as the balance between Jimmy Butler scoring and perhaps facilitating this Heat offense in this game?
Yeah, he's going to have to score more. He's going to have to attack more. I think Smitty made a good point. He's going to have to run off picks and have AD start chasing him. When he spaces up AD and AD's got his feet set, squaring him up, it is really hard for a guy of Jimmy Butler's size to get a clean shot off against AD, who's so long, gets those hands up, and just does a great job of keeping between the basket and anybody he's guarding. So the last thing you're going to do if you're playing against AD, you're going to have to shoot over his extended hand. Now, if Butler can come off running and get off some screens and maybe get AD tracing him and shake himself free, but he's got to find a way to score. And, the one thing about Miami, I've always said, I love how hard they play. They have a great team as far as grit and toughness. They don't have that one guy you can just throw the ball to at a spot and say, go to work. Kareem on the right box. LeBron James at the top of the key circle above the three-point line. Let him go downhill. They don't have a guy like that. So everything they do offensively is from movement. They'll have 7 or 8 different movements in one offensive set. The ball goes, and they work really, really hard to get good shots against a really good defensive team like Miami. So what's going to have to happen? Hero's going to have to make shots. Crowder's going to have to make shots. Kelly Olynyk. All these guys are going to have to make a lot of shots, and they're going to play hard. There's no doubt about that. But are they good enough? Because the two best players in this series, as far as the best player overall, is LeBron James. And the best two-way guy out there is AD, and they're on one team. They're on the Lakers. So the Heat have got a tremendous steep hill to climb, but they're going to battle. They need some guys to get hot. They need some guys to shoot, and Butler's got to be the man to facilitate, because what Goran Dragic did for them is he played downhill off pick and roll. Everybody else plays a little more east-west off pick and roll. Dragic played downhill, and they're going to miss that.
Bam Adebayo, though, did return to the lineup in Game 4 after an MRI revealed a strained neck on his left side. So, Zeke, as you think about the best way for the Heat to utilize him in this game, not only offensively, but against Anthony Davis as well, what is it?
Well, they like to use Bam at the high post, and he's actually their facilitator and decision maker at the high post in their offense. You see, they'll enter the ball to him at the high post. They'll have some weak side action that he'll read, then he'll have some strong side action that he'll read. And if nothing's there, then he goes into dribble, handoff, screen, and roll. So he's really their best decision maker outside of Dragic. on the offensive side of the basketball. But, you know, the thing that I worry about tonight, facing a closeout game, with all that movement and all that, as Kevin just, accurately described, they're going to need a lot of players to play well, shoot the ball well, touch the basketball. And one thing to look for early in the game and even late in the game, with so many people touching the basketball and so much movement, there will be some turnovers. And if Miami has a lot of turnovers, then that allows the Lakers to get out in transition and they can open up this game very quickly. So, that's one thing to watch for with all the movement and all the dribble handoff and weak side action and everyone touching the basketball. Can they trust everyone in a closeout game to really handle the basketball and not turn it over?
Well, our pregame coverage will continue after we take a quick break in a couple of days. But I want to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Coach. What does this opportunity say about AD's status in the league? If he's a first-time champion and perhaps a Finals MVP, how could it cement his status?
Yeah, he's a great player, and then you got to become a great winner. I mean, that's what this league's all about. And this is the start of his trek on becoming a great winner. I mean, he's in the finals now. I have so much respect for that kid because, it's funny because in Game 3, the Lakers didn't play well. Jimmy Butler went crazy. And in Game 4, LeBron has a tough first half. It's a tight game. And he says, let me take Jimmy Butler. He goes out there and puts so much energy in the defensive end. And he lets LeBron kind of handle the offense. He ends up with 22 points. But one of the better defensive efforts I've seen from an individual, just guarding the other team's best player. Did a great job and didn't think twice about it. He's very unselfish. And, he can do everything. He puts the ball on the floor. He shoots it well. He's got little throw shots, little runners in the post. He's long. He's special. But, again, it does cement your legacy is when you win. And right or wrong, that's the way it's always been and the way it will always continue to be in the NBA. Hopefully tonight this is the start of him putting some championship rings down and making his mark as one of the top big guys to ever play.
Zeke?
I'll echo what Kevin said, and I'll add one other thing to it. I think it cements his legacy by winning a championship, but I think it cements his legacy more when you win in a Laker uniform or when you win in a Celtic uniform. The Lakers and the Celtics are historically the two best franchises in our league, and the weight of tradition that comes with putting on a Laker uniform or a Celtic uniform, the pressure to win in those two organizations, and I'm not talking about, winning games. I'm talking about winning championships. When you look up in the rafters and you see Chamberlain, West, Kareem, Magic, Kobe, and Shaq, to have your name mentioned with those guys in terms of championship, that's a lot of weight. In the Celtic organization, when you see Havlicek, Cowens, Bird, McHale, Parrish, DJ, when you put on that uniform, there's a lot of weight that comes with playing in those two organizations. And it's different when you win with a Laker uniform or a Celtic uniform, and there's much more pressure on you as an athlete and as a player to win championships in those two organizations. So if he and LeBron win in a Laker jersey, it definitely carries much more significance than in any other jersey they've won in.
Wow, I'm impressed with the props that you're handing, not only those couple of guys, but those couple of franchises as well.
McHale can speak to it himself.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of pressure.
You are right. But Grant, let me ask you the same thing about Anthony Davis's status as he's looking to cement that in this series.
Yeah, no question he is, Kristen. And look, we've all known for quite some time now that he's one of the top players in terms of talent in the league. His teams weren't successful. They were, kind of mediocre there in New Orleans. But in terms of his ability, in terms of his talent level, everyone understood and respected what he could do. But to now, as Isaiah and Kevin talked about, to be on the stage, to win a championship, it really validates
how good LeBron is in these closeout type situations. With that type of corporate knowledge, What can you convey to your team about how he performs in these instances?
Our guys are pretty well aware of it. It's not as if I can unveil a secret or something that's going to like surprise everybody. These guys have all watched, the finals for the last several years, and we also, more importantly, understand, what our purpose is, what we're trying to get done, and we never thought it would be easy. Again, our guys just love competition, and I'm looking forward to it tonight.
All right, Coach, good luck tonight. Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, Kristen.
Stay with us on NBA TV as our pregame coverage continues with LeBron James having taken the court in pursuit of his 4th NBA championship.